lot has been happening in the hospitality sector, and especially aviation is something which has been seeing increased amount of passenger load factor, etc. as well. Let's have a chat going with Mr. Praveen Iyer, the co-founder and chief commercial officer at Akasa Air, to understand how the trends are panning out in the aviation industry. Hi, thank you so much for making time and speaking with ET now today. Just wanted to ask you about the domestic air traffic, because that's now considerably above the pre-COVID levels, even in a lean period. What is supporting this? Is it the leisure travel which is back, or even corporate travel is something which is picking up?
Well, it's a combination of both. I would say leisure travel is playing a significant part in this. So is the corporate traffic. Like we all know, till about last year, there was a lot of work from home, hardly meetings happening between cities. But now people are moving, traveling. So it's a combination of both leisure and corporate, I would say.
Let's also talk about the business internals then, because for quite a long time, the yields were hovering around that 3 to 4 rupee per unit mark. And now for the past 3 quarters, they have sustained over 5 rupee per unit. What could be a sustainable number you believe going forward?
No reason why it won't. India is an extremely strong growth market. And let me give you some statistics around pre-COVID versus today. Way back in Feb 2020, India domestic had close to 3,200 flights a day. What's come down to today is about 3,000 to 3,100. As we get into the summer scare, which is the first quarter of the next financial year, you will see that this may probably go up to 3,200, 3,300. What this essentially means is that the capacity deployment is still at pre-COVID levels, and this is over a period of 3.5 years. And considering the future of the industry, we are at about 200 million odd passengers between domestic and international, likely to get to about 400 by 2027, 500 million by 2030. That essentially means that over the next 1 or 2 years, we are catching up with what should be the ideal CAGR for the industry. So I see things holding up quite well on the domestic market, especially.
Okay, sounding quite promising. But Praveen, what's the outlook given the fact that we just recently had the news that Air India placed the largest ever aircraft order. Indigo also had a large order in place. Is there going to be a market share war going ahead, or will passenger growth, according to you, be strong enough in order to support this?
So again, I'll go back to what I mentioned a little earlier. If 200 million passengers will grow to 400 million passengers over a period of 5 years, that essentially means the number of aircraft deployment has to go up from 700 to about 1,100 at least. And if you add these orders up, that's exactly the number that we're talking about. But mind you, these orders are coming over a period of 8 to 10 years. That essentially means we will see a strong growth for the sector. You will continue to see higher occupancies for airlines, and we have enough and more demand available out there to absorb all the capacity that's going to come in over the next few years, be it any carrier, including Akasa.
Okay, fair enough. And what's the kind of passenger growth then that you're expecting over the next few years?
So the CAGR that we're expecting over the next decade or so is double digit. It's going to be anywhere in the region of 12 to 18%, the way we see this. There will be significant growth, significant capacity as the airports get added to. Mind you, we saw Mopa as the most recent new airport, and it's the first of its kind where you will actually start seeing the same city having multiple airports. We have Jewar coming up, we have Navi Mumbai coming up towards 24, 25. So clearly there is enough and more infrastructure available, enough and more capacity getting added, and we'll continue to see this growth through the next decade, and not just a couple of years.
Well, there has been a lot of these fresh orders as well that the aviation companies has made, right? Starting with that 400 plus order coming in from Air India itself. And you too had placed an order for around 72 aircraft, right? Given the strong growth expected, are you looking at beefing up the pipeline further?
Yes, in fact, we announced it earlier. We've talked about this a few times. You will see us place a bigger order by the end of this year. And speculations are on but we can guarantee you it's going to be a 3-digit order. The last order was 72 aircraft, and the new order that we will place towards the end of this year is going to be much larger than what we have already placed about a year and a half back. So yes, you will see us place an order pretty soon, and we'll talk about it at the right time.
Oh, well, absolutely. We'll wait by to hear on that 3-digit order that you're likely to place soon. But as soon as you get 2 more aircraft, and that is expected to happen soon, you will be eligible to fly international as well. What's the plan about going international? Is that something which is in the pipeline as well?
So towards the end of this year, that's the other announcement that we'll make. One is the aircraft order, which I talked about. You will also see an international operations that we start towards the end of this year. Several options available with the 737 MAX aircraft that we operate in a radius of 5 hours. There are multiple destinations available, but it's too early to really comment about any specific destination. But we have options available towards the Gulf, Middle East. We have options available towards the Far East as well. And again, at the right time, once we have the 20 aircraft onboarded and we have the right approvals in place, we will talk about our international destination as well.
Sure, and finally, Praveen, there are 5 big players in the industry. Indigo does corner over half the market. Tata Group controls another 25%, and the remaining 3 have the balance. What's your outlook in terms of market share? Do you think that this dynamic will change? Is there likely to be more consolidation in the Indian skies?
So consolidation in whatever shape and form, in my view, has already happened with 2 players placing those orders and talking about the shares that they have been. But having said that, clearly there is room for more players. There is room for other carriers as well. Let's face it, India is a 200 million market today, growing to 400 million over the next 5 years. That essentially means you will need more players. The existing players alone cannot satisfy the demand that we are seeing out there and the kind of growth potential that the industry is going to witness. So clearly, whatever consolidation, in my view, for the next 3 to 5 years, give or take here and there, is already something which we have witnessed. It's only the existing players and some new players that you will see adding up over the next few years.
Okay, and what is going to be Akasa's focus then? Is it going to be market share or is it going to be profitability?
Well, let's face it, we want to give an option to the customer for the best product on board and overall customer experience to be the best. We have been successful so far, but it's a long road. We are happy with what we have seen so far. Let's face it, at the end of the day, all these parameters that you talked about matter, and our focus would be to just provide an employee-centric organization and a customer-focused enterprise, which gives you the best choice up in the air and on ground as well. That's our primary focus, and that's going to be our primary focus through the next few years as well.
Akasa is also remembered for your co-founder Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, right? And he was actively engaged in the business of building up the airline as well. Wanted to get a sense from you, what's the most that you miss with respect to the interactions that you had? And is there any advice that you have been missing out on?
Well, he's one of a kind. I don't think it's just us who miss him. I think the nation misses him for his foresight, for his bullishness about India in general. The one thing that I will always remember and will remain close to my heart, and that's actually being witnessed by India, and that is he kept highlighting that the next 10 years will be India's massive transformation, and we've already started seeing that with the kind of growth that you see in the economy. With the kind of high disposable income that India is generating, the share market is down a little, but it's definitely going to move up. But his foresightedness and his ability to predict what's coming, I think it's absolutely remarkable. And he has predicted the next 10 years is going to be the best for the country. And we will have the maximum amount of employment, with more and more employment being created thanks to the way India is going to grow.
Okay, but you're right, the nation entirely misses him, and that's a huge loss. But is there any target that he set for you which you guys are aiming to achieve?
His only target was have a happy employee, have a family that's running with a smile, have a setup where your people are happy internally and your people are happy externally. That's his only motto, and that's his only objective that he set for us as an enterprise. And like I said, we all miss him, the nation misses him. I wish he was around to see some of these achievements and how people in general around us are happy and moving towards that common objective that he set for us, which is to keep the internal employees happy and even the customers happy at all points in time.
All right, it's been great having you on board. Thanks so much for taking time out and joining in. Praveen, just giving us a sense of what the Indian aviation industry could look like and, of course, your flight plan.